Topic: Loving. Lesson 1. Somewhere far away lived a child who lacked self-confidence. This child would grow up to become a narrator, and the narrator was the author's closest friend, his soulmate. Perhaps they were not merely best friends, but two separate portals connecting distant realms. Did this mean that love would be lost? Or was love a weapon that simplified itself on this piece of land? Weapons entertained humanity. Those weapons were symbols of power and authority. They would suddenly fire. They would take many lives. Of course, the person pulling the trigger had no sense of responsibility, because it did not require responsibility. That device called a weapon, which has been causing trouble for humanity for centuries. Perhaps weapons could not bear the weight of pens. Pens were the archenemy of weapons. As pens wrote, responsibility increased. It would reach such a point that, in order to end this suffering in the atmosphere of peace, weapons would come into play. At that moment, the bullets of the weapons would grow impatient and long to leave their barrels. We always blame those who use weapons, but it is not the users who are guilty. It is the bullets of the weapons themselves that bear the blame. When the pen no longer wanted to write on paper, weapons would break their long-standing silence to destroy the papers. Weapons had no ideas. Therefore, they could not defeat the ideas written on paper. This is where the chaos began, and they would have a say in the battlefield whose end was unseen. The weapons had unique abilities, so we couldn't blame those who wielded them. Afterwards, when they could no longer see the person they were aimed at, their mission would be complete. Did weapons understand love according to the narrator? No, the author says. Even if it was a weapon used for the sake of love, only the pen could convey this emotion. Fortunately, human beings choose the weapon pointed at them over the pen that reveals the secrets of everything. So what about me? You, someone who has given up on weapons and love, are already dead. And the dead cannot speak, eat, or breathe. You are nothing now, and you are nothing but a lonely heart in the middle of nowhere. Although it can't even be called a heart, you are merely a petrified mass of spent bullet casings that no one can use. This is how time passes for the writer. Is there a mathematics to being loved? Perhaps being loved means being alone. And when you're alone, you will be able to appreciate the person you know better, until he found the staircase that led to the end of the world and served as its terminus. The old caveman dug. Finally, he rejoiced as if he had found the door leading to another dimension. At the point where he had arrived through his digging, he experienced his joy as if he had discovered gold. Perhaps that's why he was so happy, because he had unearthed the unknown. There it was before him, right there, this manuscript. Where he reached out, he found that manuscript written long ago, valuable enough to seem like a work of imagination. This was a turning point significant enough to change his fortune. Here's this manuscript. The decorations on the pages were gilded, and the paper was of a medium texture between soft and firm. The ink written on it was as fresh as the day it was written. Now, place needed to be found to store the manuscript. The old caveman thought. Later, there was a place where the dead and the living, the fresh and the stale, coexisted. That place was the drama coffee house. Here, there were vast distinctions between life and death, and a state of mind in which no one could name or internalize dying or living. This place was not so much a coffee house as it was a distorted city inhabited by disembodied spirits. This is where the story began. Inside the coffee house, tea was free and using the word please was forbidden. The rules here were a bit strict. The residents were quiet, but there was always a low hum inside. The place was filled with smoke. This smoke wasn't caused by cigarettes or incense. It was the smoke that people inhaled and eventually exhaled after finishing their literature studies. The smoke was so potent that even the most experienced drug user could fall under its influence and be manipulated by it. Tea was free here, but no one drank it. The most distinctive feature of the wine and incense here was that those who obtained them gave a piece of their soul in exchange. After all, it wasn't incense, and the wine wasn't the kind that goes with cheese. Breathing spirit meant disregarding the earth's atmosphere, and this place was a place of disregard where creatures with various forms of respiration coexisted. It was filled with flowers so diverse and intricate that they could not have been created by humans, not begonias, daisies, roses, or chrysanthemums. The old miner who entered, he asked the alcohol-like yet merely spirit-breathing drama enthusiast at the door, "Am I looking for Biller?" The man looked at the miner and said, "Don't you know he's dead? He can never return, and you can never reach him." To be absolutely sure, the miner asked, "What is your name, my fellow countryman?" The man turned to the miner and said, "Here, names are always ephemeral. Only the breathing of souls and their naming are permitted." Perhaps these memories suddenly stopped, and the miner, who said that there was no need for a name, only where the wines in the cellar were drunk, and he wanted to forget his own name, so that he wouldn't breathe too much air in the place of those sitting in the coffee shop, realized that he had calmed down a little, and was about to step through the door, when a hand grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him back. When the miner turned around, it was Biller standing in front of him. He said, "You called me old fool." The miner showered Biller with praise, with joy, and apologized for not realizing he had fallen under the spell of this place. "Anyway, whatever Biller said, let's go to my office and ignore this smell that's worse than opium." Together they set off towards Bill's house. At that moment, a young man passed by them. Bill looked at him in a hostile manner, but it was not the young man who was disturbed by the look, it was Bill himself. The miner asked, "Who was that?" Biller then said to him, "He's the butcher's son." "So why did you look at him hostilely?" the miner asked. Biller, on the other hand, said mysteriously that this young man didn't even deserve such bad luck, while some don't even deserve a second glance. While walking on the road, the miner noticed the smell clinging to him from before, but Biller had noticed it first. According to him, this was a sign that a manuscript would be given to him by an old miner, because here in drama, smells conveyed ideas and news. Drama sometimes conveys news to its inhabitants in this way, but those who live in drama do not pay attention to this news, because they already live in this distinguished place that is the source of all news in the world. This place was not only a news source, but also a place to learn knowledge and wisdom. However, it had one drawback: even if one became proficient through the knowledge learned, it was impossible to teach anyone, whether from outside or inside, what one had learned. This is where the drama takes place, and the inhabitants are the residents of the drama coffee house. No questions are asked here. The drama coffee house is a place where only predetermined questions with obvious answers are posed.